right, so we talked about this as far as ranking, just having some fun with it. The schedule this year, we know it's set in stone. We know what the games are. We know where they're at. We know everything about it. We're starting to get an idea of what this team's all about. But there are games that are going to be more difficult than others. So all of us here together have decided to give our rankings for the toughest games on the schedule, ranking them like 1 through 12. So I guess number 1, of course, being the toughest, and number 12 being the least toughest. I'm not going to say easiest because it's never easy. So we'll do a little countdown. We'll see how much we stack up with each other and see how it goes. But let's start, of course, with the easiest. Number 12. I feel like we're probably all going to be in agreement on this one. But Curtis, I'll let you go ahead and kick us off. Who do you have as the easiest or least tough game for Arkansas this year?
Yeah, I'm not even going to say anything sarcastic here. It's UAPB. I mean,
yep.
I have A&M, but I can hear the case for UAPB. I saw a chart that had like it ranked all of the FCS teams, and I think UAPB was the 3rd worst, and the 2 that were below them were like the Sisters of the Blind and the School for Deaf Children or something like that. So it was like elite company for them. I don't think that there's FCS teams that like you don't want to see on your schedule. I do not think UAPB is one of them. I think you do want to see UAPB on your schedule.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Okay, so we're all in agreement there.
Yep.
Now, number 11. Curtis, who do you have at number 11?
Sorry, Andrew. Louisiana Tech.
You're making the wrong decision, dude.
Louisiana Tech, buddy. I could have gone either way with them or UAB. I went with Louisiana Tech because I got to take a shot at my guy.
Do you agree, Andrew?
He got mad and quit.
Oh, he just quit on us.
Wow. Got mad and quit.
That's all it took, dude. He was out. He was out like a light. I'm not even going to remove his camera. I'm just going to leave that image. Oh, wait. Yeah, he's coming back. He's back.
I thought y'all froze. Curtis, I thought Curtis stopped mid-sentence. I was like, what the heck's going on? Curtis just froze on me.
Yeah. No. So we were like, man.
You're definitely wrong about that, Curtis. UAB is worse.
We'll see.
Okay.
Trent Dilfer, come on.
Well, I have UAB as well, but it has nothing to do with taking shots at you. It's just more because it's UAB. But yeah, still, I respect it.
I'm kind of anti Louisiana Tech football. I've kind of did my whole soapbox on Skip Holtz and how they shouldn't have fired him, and so I'm kind of out on the program. I think they stink, and I will say now that I really think about it, playing them later in the year probably helps.
Yeah.
Yep, he's going to keep freezing on us, man. He's just going to keep freezing on us. Yeah, he needs to pay his internet bill, I guess.
Yeah,
and do that
because it's really hard to
get that taken care of. My goodness, man, he's over here just losing it. But either way, it's all good. We'll just continue it on because I feel like we're probably in the same spot. Number 10. So Curtis, I assume that's going to be your UAB.
Yeah,
assume that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. UAB at 10.
And Andrew, you're going to have Louisiana Tech.
Yes.
Okay, me too. So we're all pretty much, at least as far as the easiest 3 games.
Now it gets fun.
Yeah. Now it gets where number 9. And Andrew, I'll have you start before you get pissed and freeze again. So what's number 9 for you?
I got Starkville. I got the Starkville trip against Mississippi State. Road is tough, but I feel like Mississippi State's the worst SEC team on the schedule. Just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I too have Mississippi State on the road for all of those exact reasons. So we are locked in step right there.
Mm-hmm.
That too. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
About what?
The Cody Kennedy's their line coach.
That's right. Fun. Yeah. Man, listen, I'm not going to try to throw stones or anything, but like if you're Jeff Lebby and everything and you're Mississippi State, I know Mississippi State, but I'm like, what did you see at Arkansas with Cody Kennedy that made you be like, I don't want that guy as my offensive line coach? Like, I was just, okay, buddy, whatever. Anyways, I think, so we're all in agreement there. Okay. Number 8, Curtis, what's the 8th toughest game on Arkansas schedule?
This is where it started to get pretty tricky for me. Yeah. And honestly, like, it's almost like 4 through 8 or even 3 through 8 could be interchangeable. But I actually went with another road game at Auburn.
Okay.
Is where I'm at there. Cause I don't know. I'm not buying it yet. Yeah. At Auburn.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
All right. What about you, Andrew?
I went with a weird one here.
Okay.
The Texas A&M Aggies. First year head coach, neutral site, early enough in the year to where like they won't have found their groove yet. I just felt like picking one of the road games, or they're all going to be tough. I mean, pretty tough. But I was between them and Auburn, so I think we're kind of on the right track. But I think A&M is kind of low key winnable.
Well, it's funny you went with the weird one because I did too, because I also chose Texas A&M. And one of the reasons being is because I know that game in Arlington is so dumb. And it's been one of the most like crazy things where not every game, but more often than not, Arkansas has been the team that either should have won, was in a position to win, and just didn't because they blew it, they choked, whatever. However, this is the only reason I'm picking this game is because when Bobby Petrino is involved in this Southwest Classic, the team that he's on the sidelines with is undefeated. So 3-0 with Arkansas, 1-0 with A&M. I'm going to just roll with Bobby to be that too. So, okay. So that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll do my first, go first on this one. Next one's Auburn for me, number 7. Yeah. Just because, Hugh Freeze has had Sam Pittman's number. I mean, obviously beat the brakes off of him last year, won with Liberty. And, but earlier in the year, Auburn still, there's just nothing about them that I'm like, man, they're going to be so much better. Peyton Thorne's, I think, still their quarterback. Not to say they're a bad team at all, but comparatively speaking to the rest of the teams, I got Auburn as 7.
There's some winnability to that game for sure. Texas A&M was 7 for me. So,
okay.
One spot different. That I was really torn between those two, and yeah.
Okay. Andrew, same with
I had Auburn as well. So yeah, okay. I think we're pretty much all aligned, at least on the teams that we think are the easiest, the most winnable games.
Yeah. Now this one to me is where, like, for me at least, it got toughest is getting here to the top half of the most difficult teams on the schedule. And so for this one, Curtis, number 6, who are you saying is the toughest team? 6th toughest team.
I actually went with LSU here.
Okay.
Reason being, I just, Jaden Daniels ain't walking back through that door. So I wonder if there's going to be a level of drop off there. They're obviously still going to be very talented, but I also like that it is a post-bye game for Arkansas and it's at home. Arkansas under Pittman's been really good coming off of a bye week. So they kind of go through that gauntlet. They got 6 straight games. They play Tennessee, but that's a home game. And then you get a bye and then you get LSU at home. So I like that one there. Mm-hmm. Could have gone a number of ways, but I went with LSU.
That's such a good idea that I wish I would have done it, but I went with Oklahoma State. Early week 2, right out the gate. So I could be proven wrong immediately, but I think Oklahoma State's, it's not like they're a super well-rounded team. Bowman is 97 years old. I know they have a fantastic running back, but it seems to me like their offense kind of took a little bit of a step back last year. It's not like your Oklahoma State that's going to be scoring 45, 50 points on everyone. I think it'll probably be a pretty close game and a tough one to win, but I have Oklahoma State just because of how early it is. It's like, I feel like it being early kind of helps.
Well,
and it's 11 a.m.
I'm going to go with a different one than all of y'all. I'm going with Tennessee. Okay. And the reason being for me, and again, want to reiterate, no one's saying that these teams suck, like that Tennessee sucks. I'm not saying that. But I just feel like when Josh Heupel, really was getting it going a couple years ago at Tennessee and everything, I think that people are starting to maybe figure out the offense a little bit more. Still a good offense, but figuring out just a little bit more. I think since it's at home, there's not a whole lot of familiarity between these two teams because they haven't played each other. And also if Arkansas can just make it to where they're through those first 5 games, if they're like 4-1 through those first 5 games, that atmosphere against Tennessee is going to be incredible. And I think that could play a factor into it. So I got Tennessee as the 6th toughest game. 5th, Andrew, who do you have? Number 5, top 5.
So again, I should have had LSU like lower or higher on this list, however you want to say, but I went Tennessee in this spot for a lot of the same reasons you just said, but also Tennessee's got a high level offense that likes to get out and likes to be fast, likes to throw the ball. I feel like it's an offense that doesn't travel super well. So I think like a lot of that, and it being kind of early in the season, youngish quarterback, a first year starter. And so I think Arkansas kind of catches Tennessee at it's not a great spot for Arkansas because it's in the middle of that gauntlet, but it's like, I think that if you're going to play Tennessee at home and early is probably the time to do it.
Curtis?
Oklahoma State. Yeah,
Okay.
I've got Oklahoma State there. It's going to be interesting, man. I just don't know what that atmosphere will be like, comparatively speaking, to some other place you go in the SEC. But I feel like Arkansas could travel fairly well to that game. It is going to be a sellout, but it's early in the season, week 2. I would imagine you're feeling pretty good about yourself coming off a healthy win against UAPB. You've got extra days of preparation because you're playing that game on a Thursday. And Oklahoma State, they are playing the defending national champions, from the lower rank there. So, I mean, they should be able to handle that, but they'll be pushed a little bit there. So, I think that lines up pretty well for Arkansas, even though it's a road game, it's close in proximity. So I feel decent about that one.
Well, my number 5, and I'm sure no one's going to give me a hard time for this. Missouri. I got Missouri
Not a bad pick.
at number 5. And the reason being, yes, people know about my history with Missouri. I think appreciate and Eli Drinkwitz, me living rent free in his head because he keeps mentioning me, like all the kids say. But either way, I think that Missouri, give them credit. They had a great year, but I just don't know if it's sustainable enough. I don't know if it's going to be good enough. And I don't know. I feel like Pittman hates Eli Drinkwitz. I think Bobby, he hates Missouri. I just think that there's going to be some at the end of that year where Missouri's not going to be as good. And if Arkansas is actually having a good season, I think that a little revenge is had. Not saying I'm not predicting Arkansas to win right now, but I'm just saying if we're going in rankings, I got them as the fifth toughest one. Which
I don't hate it. I mean, I think you could make it. Missouri's the one I didn't really know what to do with because you can I could see the argument for them being higher, lower, like whatever. It being at the end of the year kind of throws me off because I'm like, who the hell knows what's going to be happening there? And Sam Pittman should hate Eli Drinkwitz because he's been bullying him for years.
Yeah, well, that too, and also my favorite thing is we stand on business and then running away from Josh Heupel. Like Josh Heupel, come on, man, like doing all that stuff. That dude's a clown. So, anyways, that being said, number 4, I'll start. Means Oklahoma State. I got them as the number 4 toughest team. And the main thing with them is like I feel like Arkansas plays better earlier in the year and they have under Sam Pittman. But dude, week 2, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot over there in Stillwater. It's an 11 a.m. game. But I think it's gonna be. I also think it's gonna be an overtime game because my girl Taylor McGregor is gonna be on sidelines for that. She's only done 2 games for Arkansas, and both of them went to overtime. Florida last year. And the Arkansas-Kansas Liberty Bowl. So it's probably going to be crazy and maddening, but I think that's the fourth toughest one for Arkansas.
Arkansas getting 2 extra days to prepare too. I mean,
it's true. It's true. Well, and then hopefully UAPB they shouldn't have to prepare much for. So hopefully, but yeah,
we don't overlook anyone, John.
Yeah. He's a load now. But okay, so that's my number 4. Curtis, who's your number 4?
I've got Tennessee here.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a pretty tough game for Arkansas. It's the 6th game in as many weeks for them. And so I think about a high-octane, high-flying offense, and I think about a team that's, playing a 6th game in 6 weeks. They just traveled to Auburn, then they just traveled to that neutral site to play Texas A&M. And so we're going to hear we're pretty banged up now. And you're going to be playing, an offense that can throw 50 on you real quick. And I also think I would prefer to play Tennessee later in the year because it's almost like those Lane Kiffin offenses. When it gets cold outside, it feels like those guys lose a little bit of steam. I kind of feel the same way about Tennessee. October 5th, it's going to feel nice. They're going to be able to throw the ball around. I like that it's at home, but I think that one is a little bit more tricky than maybe some others do.
Okay,
yeah, it is kind of funny how like you just view these games so differently preseason than when they come on the schedule, you're like, oh damn, like I really don't want this one kind of sucks. Hopefully I don't feel that way about this game because I think it's my turn to tell my 4th.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I should have had this team lower on this list or higher on this list, however you want to say it. The more I've listened to y'all talk and just kind of thinking about it, Arkansas is going to beat LSU by like 13 at home. LSU sucks, man. It's a shameful program full of bad people that do bad things. Their athletic department has had scumbag after scumbag come through there. It's just not a good place. There's a lot of bad things that happen on that campus. And, some of my best friends went there, and I love those guys, but even they would agree. It's a shameful place. Garrett Nussmeier. Do y'all remember Garrett Nussmeier had to play in that Arkansas game in 2021? I believe it was. They benched Max Johnson and put a true freshman, Garrett Nussmeier, in the game. And he made some plays against Arkansas, but he also threw 2 god-awful interceptions that cost LSU the game. he's a wild card. He's a talented kid, but he's a wild card who's now kind of stepping into a starting role. Tiger fans are convinced he's going to be a star. I think on the road, he's going to throw 3 picks against Arkansas, and they're going to beat him. But I had them. I say all that to say I had them as the 4th toughest game on the schedule. I wish I had put them way higher on this list.
All right. So moving through it. So it sounds like all of us, well, and I guess no, that won't be the case. So, okay, we'll start with number 3. Curtis, your 3rd toughest team.
That one's going to be at Mizzou for me.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I mean, I understand your feelings for Missouri, John, and Andrew, you call me a Missouri homer, but
you love them, dude. You love them.
I mean, they're really good, and they kick Arkansas's ass all the time. Guess who's never won in Columbia? Arkansas. Okay. And it's late in the year, and we talk about that getting weird or whatever. Missouri is coming off of a great season. They got a lot of really, really good pieces back. They're going to be that team. If you look at their schedule sucks. At the end of the year, there's a very realistic chance that they could be playing Arkansas for an opportunity to get into that college football playoff, that 12-team playoff, and it's a home game. I don't know. I don't like that one at all. Luther Burden scares the crap out of me, and I think they're going to have a lot to play for. And so, hey, yeah, if they do take some bumps early and they don't meet expectations, everything you guys said, I feel like is right. Then it's game on. But looking at their schedule, I feel like they almost got kind of a cakewalk situation here. I think it's going to be a really, really tough one. I almost ranked it number 2, actually.
Okay.
I have them in the same spot, Curtis. I have them as the 3rd toughest game, Missouri. For a lot of the same reasons you just said, like late in the season on the road, Arkansas, who knows what, like Arkansas could have a different head coach, could be, what it could be 4-7, could be 6-5, could be whatever. Like, I don't think Arkansas is going to have a ton of stakes in the game unless they're, of course, 5-6. Then it kind of changes it a little bit. But I think Arkansas just historically underachieves against Missouri, particularly on the road. And so it's like, however good I think this Arkansas team is, they're going to be worse against Missouri because they just always are. And I think Drink gets up for that Arkansas game because he remembers bullying Stu Hogg at Springdale High School. And I don't know what it is, man. I just think Missouri has Arkansas's number. And until they show me that they don't, I don't know. I have a hard time believing Arkansas is going to play well against Missouri because it feels like insanity at this point. And that's a definition of doing the same thing and expecting different results. Arkansas plays their worst game of the year against Missouri like every other year, just about.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not predicting Arkansas is going to beat Missouri kind of for the same reason, because until they do. But it's more of just like Drinkwitz has had a losing season every year. He's been at Missouri except for last year. So I want to see if that's a sustainable, or was it just that one magical year where it all came together? My number 3 is actually Ole Miss. And the reason being is because for whatever reason, Arkansas, since Lane Kiffin's been there, they've either beat the brakes off Ole Miss or they've lost barely. And at home, Arkansas has beaten the brakes off of Ole Miss. And there's just something about it. The game's always been crazy. Historically, it's always been crazy. It's probably going to be the same way this year. Ole Miss is good, but I don't know. There's just something about that Arkansas game that's always weird, especially when it's later in the year. So I'm saying that's number 3 for me is the Ole Miss Rebels. Okay, number 2, Andrew.
So I have the Texas Longhorns here. I don't, and look, I say I have them below Ole Miss, I guess. Like I have Ole Miss as the hardest one, but I think both these games are both at home, but like the hardest games on the schedule. I think they're probably the best teams on the schedule. I think Texas is going to be very motivated after the way that it played out at Arkansas a couple years ago. It's later in the year, which I feel like means you're kind of less likely to get caught slipping a little bit in November because it's, early in the year when things are a little bit easier for opposing teams. I feel like it's just going to be Texas is not going to get caught napping in November. Who knows where they're going to be at on their schedule of what they're 9-1 or whatever. But I think Texas is just going to be a really tough one. And I think they're the second toughest game on the schedule.
Okay, Curtis.
I've got Ole Miss here as the number 2, but I agree with I think they're just the second best team that Arkansas is going to play. But it's almost like one of those deals where you throw the records out when these two teams get together. It's just always a crazy game. Always weird, maybe in a lot of cases, always closer than we expect given where the teams are at. But man, they're loaded. I mean, that offense has a lot of weapons for Lane Kiffin to work with. I have no idea where Arkansas is going to be at that point. On one hand, I look at it and I'm looking at the schedule and I can see a pathway to where, like Arkansas comes off a bye. It would not shock me if they beat LSU and then won at Mississippi State. And so then you're kind of feeling really good about yourself going into that game. And I don't know, maybe you run into a little bit of a different situation there, but Ole Miss is tough, man. And I think that they're going to be a team. If Lane Kiffin's going to get it done, he's going to get into the college football playoff and have a legit shot at, maybe winning the thing. This would kind of be his year. And I don't know that this is the Arkansas team that would derail that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of agreeing with Andrew on Texas at number 2. I think Texas is really good, but I just don't think that they're going to be, this. I'm telling you right now, this is not me just, starting the chant of SEC, but I feel like Oklahoma and Texas, when they have to go through this gauntlet of the SEC, it's going to be an adjusting period. Like it's going to take a little bit. Because if anybody remembers, like when Missouri and A&M joined, A&M had a great year in their first year at the SEC. But why? Because they had a guy named Johnny Manziel. Like that's why. But Missouri really struggled. They went 5-7 in their first year in the SEC. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a drop off. I think it's going to be tough, especially later in the year. Arkansas is coming off of a bye too into that Texas game. Yeah. And if Arkansas has even got a decent season going on, the energy, the atmosphere, and everything's going to be crazy good, even though it's at 11 a.m., which sucks. But still, I think Texas is going to be the second toughest game for Arkansas on this schedule.
Pittman low-key is great with the bye week. I mean, he mentioned it today. Yeah. He likes to tell him to talk about it, but they've been really good off bye weeks, and they've been pretty good in openers throughout his tenure. And so, yeah, that is definitely notable.
Yeah.
But I want to say I think Quinn Ewers is probably the best quarterback Arkansas is going to face all year.
Yeah,
I think that's another one where it's like older quarterback coming in November with his team with a lot to play for. I just, and I think they're going to be highly motivated. I don't see Texas slipping in that one.
Yeah, well, I'm also going to throw in. I'll just go ahead and knock out the number 1 because it's the only team I have left.
Yeah, who's your number 1?
LSU.
Oh, John, they're gonna beat LSU by 2 touchdowns, dude. Come on.
Now here's my whole reasoning behind this is because I feel, and I'm not trying to say that Arkansas is going to get smoked by LSU or whatever. But in my own personal experience, the years where I felt like LSU was going to be beatable, gettable, whatever, were the years every single time that they've been really good. I thought that in 2019, that LSU team that was like one of the greatest LSU team football teams ever assembled, I thought that they were going to be average. They weren't. I also thought that in, I guess it was, I forgot which year I'm even referring to, but there was another year during the Ed Orgeron era where they actually were really good. And thought that I was going to be bad. So I started feeling that
before that 2019. It was 2018.
Yes, that's probably when it was. Yeah. So I'm doing it mainly because I felt that same way about them this year because I'm like, oh, they're not going to be it. But I'm like, every time I do that, they end up being really good. That's the only reason why I'm doing it is just because it's a personal, it's like opposite day going against my gut instinct because it's failed me before. So that's why I have LSU number 1.
LSU does always have talent, man. They always do.
They do that. The reason Texas is my number 1 and the reason that they are prepared to make this transition into the SEC is because of what Arkansas did to them the last time they played. That was the wake-up call. And since then, we've seen what they've been able to do. I think they are the most talented team Arkansas is going to play. They have the best quarterback. And I also think that they're going to be one of the most motivated to come in and play Arkansas after that. And I think they're going to be in a situation where, again, they're playing for an opportunity late in the season to solidify themselves as a college football playoff team. So for me, at least my evaluation, Texas was the no-brainer here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think while we've been talking about it, I've kind of been talking myself into Texas being the hardest one. The bye week is kind of why I'm leaning towards
that
one not being.
Yeah.
But I have Ole Miss as the toughest game, and I know for anyone that's going to respond and be like, well, Arkansas plays Ole Miss pretty well. Like, guys, I've been covering the football team. I know. I'm aware that Arkansas plays very well against Ole Miss, particularly in Razorback Stadium. I understand that it's been a matchup that they just seem to rise to the occasion in, but I just think Ole Miss is the best team on Arkansas' schedule. I really like Lane Kiffin a lot. I wanted him to be Arkansas's head coach back in the day. I wish he were Arkansas's head coach right now. I think he's a stud. I think he's a great offensive mind, obviously, but I also think he's built a real roster, and they've added a lot. They've got a nice little mix of guys they've recruited, transfer guys on the defensive end. I think that he's got that program cooking really well. I think they're going to have an awesome year. I think they're going to go to the playoff. I think they're probably going to go to the SEC championship game. If I had to guess, I think they're going to be that good. And so I don't think they're losing to Arkansas, despite it being in Fayetteville. And I think it could be it's not going to be an easy game for Ole Miss necessarily, but I think Arkansas, that's the best team on their schedule, and I think it's going to be a hard one. I also think that that plays it. There's some motivation there because Lane Kiffin knows he's underachieved in this matchup a little bit, even though they won last year. And they got embarrassed the last time they came to Razorback Stadium, and that's going to sit with them a little bit.
And remember how cold it was the last time they came to Razorback Stadium? November 2nd, it's probably still going to be decent out. I mean,
yeah.
And it's an early kick too, 11 a.m. or noon. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be
and also, Arkansas's bye week is the next week, right?
Yep.
That's always a red flag. Like when you have the bye week the week after, teams are always kind of limping into that situation. Now I know you have 2 bye weeks this year, but Arkansas historically has played garbage going into a bye week. Now they play great coming out of it, but going into it, they don't play well.
Well, there you have it. So just to recap our toughest game, I have LSU, and then Curtis, you have Texas, and then Andrew has Ole Miss. So
all different. It's good.
Because I'm I kind of had a feeling like our first 3 were going to be pretty much on board and the same. And we only had a few. I think we only had 4 of them that actually were exactly the same.
I mean, dude, I will say, and we said this at the top, a lot of these games are very interchangeable. I have A&M as one of the easiest quote unquote games. A&M, we might watch them 2 weeks into the season and be like, holy crap, this team's super talented. Elko's doing a great job. Their defense is loaded. That might become one of the toughest games on the schedule. So it's I'm sure opposing fan bases are going to take this and run with it, but it's a lot of these games are very interchangeable. I was changing my list while we were doing it. Some of this.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Opposing fan bases never hold on to things and clip things and make you hear about them all the time. They never do that.
Definitely don't take things personally.
No,
that's one thing this Arkansas fan base would never do is take something personal.
Not at all.